Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The April 7, 2008 special meeting of the City Council is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented live on KCLV Cable Channel 2 and are closed captioned for our hearing impaired viewers. The council meeting, as well as all other KCLV programming, can be viewed on the internet at www.kclv.tv. The proceedings will be rebroadcast on KCLV Channel 2 and the web on Tuesday at 3 p.m., Thursday at 12 p.m., Friday at 6 p.m., and Saturday at 5 a.m. When we have our council meetings, I always make this announcement. There's no reason to think that we'll ever have to experience what I'm about to talk about, but just in abundance of caution, I want to advise everybody that the building is protected by a state-of-the-art fire and detection and suppression sprinkler system. If alarms should activate during today's meeting, please evacuate through the exits. Once outside, assemble on the Las Vegas Boulevard side of the property, and employees wearing safety vests or our city marshals will inform you when it's safe to re-enter the building. Before we proceed with the agenda, would everyone please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, may the record reflect that Councilman Steve Ross had a prior engagement and he has been excused from this special meeting. Item number 4. Hearing, discussion, and possible action regarding complaint seeking disciplinary action against the Gastroenterology Center of Nevada and Endoscopy Center of Southern Nevada, LLC, 700 Shadow Lane, Las Vegas, Clark County, Nevada, for violations of the Las Vegas Municipal Code. This is in Ward 5. Council, will you announce your appearance, please?
Good morning, Mayor, or good afternoon. My name is William Henry, Senior Litigation Counsel for the City of Las Vegas.
Great, thank you.
Jay Brown, 520 South 4th Street, representing the respondents.
Yes, sir.
Abe Vigil, 3993 Howard Hughes Parkway, representing the respondents as well.
All right, thank you very much. Before I have some comments, I'd like to ask Mr. Henry to lead the proceedings off.
Mayor, if I might, I'd like to state for the record that I have prepared hearing books, which I've distributed to members of the council.
And those were distributed on Friday afternoon?
Yes.
Right.
The respondent, and I've given the original to the clerk. Under tab 1 of the book is proof of notice of today's hearing. We are gathered here today for hearing on a previously approved disciplinary complaint to determine whether or not the council finds a violation of the city disciplinary code against 2 of its business licensees, being the Gastroenterology Center of Nevada and the Endoscopy Center of Southern Nevada, LLC. It's alleged that the actual conduct of their business has been illegal, unlawful, and impermissible, and that they've operated their business as a public nuisance.
Do you have any pleadings which you wish to have lodged with the court?
In the hearing book, under tab 2, there is a copy of the disciplinary complaint. There are copies of certain documents that, if the matter proceeds to hearing, I would offer as proof, along with testimony of witnesses. One, under tab 4, is the statement of deficiencies by the Nevada State Bureau of Licensure and Certification. Another, under tab 5, is the Health District Report on Endoscopy Center of Southern Nevada Hepatitis C investigation. And finally, under tab 6, are the instructions for use of the sedative or anesthetic propofol by its distributor, AstraZeneca.
Very good, thank you. Before we begin the presentation of the matter, I believe that it's important for the public, and not only the public that's here today, and we appreciate everybody coming down, of course, but also the viewing public and the media, to have a thumbnail sketch as to what has led us to these proceedings today. the City of Las Vegas has very limited jurisdiction. Basically, the only jurisdiction that we have, which applies to the endoscopy clinic, is their business license. And it is to that which we will be addressing our attention today. On February the 27th of this year, the City of Las Vegas was notified of a potential problem regarding a possible hepatitis C outbreak due to activity at the Endoscopy Center of Southern Nevada, LLC, and the Gastroenterology Center of Nevada. This was brought to our attention by our Mayor Pro Tem, Gary Reese, who is a member of the Health District, and advised that earlier that day there was a discussion about this potential problem. When that was brought to our attention, we began to see what jurisdiction, if any, we had as a city to address the allegations that the Mayor Pro Tem had brought to our attention. I have to say at this time that I have never experienced such cooperation as we received from our City Attorney's Office and our Business License Department. They went to work and virtually worked through the night in order to report back to us that they believed that we would be able to take some action concerning the business license of these LLCs. 2 days after this was brought to our attention, the city staff met with the Southern Nevada Health District investigator and learned that the cause of the outbreak was reuse of syringes and bottles of sedation of propofol. The same day, February 29, 2008, the city staff shut the business down by executing an immediate emergency suspension of city business licensure at the clinic. Pursuant to due process requirements, the clinic and the LLC had the opportunity to appeal that decision, and shortly thereafter, 3 days thereafter as a matter of fact, they met with a panel of our finance director, our license director, and our city manager, and the city's action concerning the emergency suspension was upheld. On March the 19th, the City Council approved a complaint for disciplinary action against the clinic. The Council set the matter for hearing at 1 o'clock today, April the 7th of 2008. After the complaint was filed, the attorneys for these LLCs came to my office and tendered the business license to me. Now, we all know that even though I'm the mayor, no action could be taken by myself without the approval of the City Council. And I indicated that I personally was not inclined nor disposed to accept the tender of the license. That triggered my requesting Mr. Henry and his staff to advise me what was the legal ramification of a tender of a license after a disciplinary complaint had been filed. There are no cases in the state of Nevada which speak to this issue. However, there is authority from other jurisdictions which would suggest that once a disciplinary complaint is filed, the filing entity may proceed with the hearing, notwithstanding the tender of the license which was at issue. After I advised the city attorney of the conversation that I had with the attorneys for the LLCs called me and wanted to know what would it take to avoid a full and complete hearing on this, and what did we want in addition to the license, which was the subject matter of the disciplinary complaint. I said that I would recommend a fine of $500,000 to be paid forthwith to the City of Las Vegas upon the surrendering of the license. Shortly thereafter, the counsel for the LLCs responded, indicated that that would be acceptable, and tendered the license, and are ready and prepared today to hand over a check in the amount of $500,000 to the City of Las Vegas. I had a discussion with the city manager and the city manager's office and told them that because of the way this proceeding came to our attention, the fact that governmental entities were not acting with the alacrity that I believed the City of Las Vegas had utilized, that the $500,000 should be spent in order to assist those who were affected by the actions of the LLCs. At the conclusion of these proceedings, I'm going to direct the city manager to follow through with that, and there are two areas that I believe have to have immediate attention, and I would expect to hear back from the city manager's office as to how we will be able to use that money for these good causes. One, the need for free testing for individuals who have been notified by the health district that they should be tested for hepatitis and other diseases. And second, there's been an enormous demand for access to the seized medical records currently in the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department's custody. They have indicated to the Mayor Pro Tem that there has been a bid where $500,000 would be required in order to assemble these records so that they can be dispensed to those parties who so desperately need them. So those are issues that I would hope that the city manager, assuming that we're going to follow through with this, will be able to report back to us as to the best and most expeditious way that the monies could be well spent for helping those who have been injured as a result of the conduct which is alleged in our disciplinary complaint. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Henry for a brief presentation. The purpose of the presentation is to have a factual basis for the action that I would move that we take, and that is to accept the surrender of the license and to impose a $500,000 fine to be paid immediately. Mr. Henry.
If I could have the PowerPoint, please.
Mr. Brown, if you and your associate would like to be seated, that's fine. Otherwise, you're welcome to stay up at the rostrum. Mr. Henry.
Mayor, members of the council, if this matter proceeded to hearing, I would anticipate being able to prove the allegations in the complaint by the presentation of witnesses whose testimony would be illustrated with information that I have in a PowerPoint presentation. Initially, I would call Jim DiFiore, the business licensing manager, to establish the licenses at issue. After that, I would call Dorothy Sims, a surveyor with the Bureau of Licensure and Certification, who would testify that she, along with a colleague, was part of a team from the BLC, the Southern Nevada Health District, and the Center for Disease Control that went to Endoscopy Center in January and began their investigation. As a result of that investigation, the Bureau of Licensure and Certification made certain findings which they included in a document that they entitled Statement of Deficiencies and Plan of Correction, which they served on the Endoscopy Center. As you can see from the first slide, they found that the management was deficient and that must be corrected. Specifically, they found that propofol vials were to be used for single use as opposed to using one vial for multiple patients, and that was per the manufacturer's recommendation. And they found that staff at the Endoscopy Center had failed to ensure that the manufacturer's labeled directions for the use of detergent for cleaning endoscopes was followed, rather. To buttress their findings and their notice of deficiencies, they set forth the directions for use from AstraZeneca for propofol, which provide that a single sterile disposable needle and syringe are to be used for each injection and thereafter discarded intact, and that medications from a single dose vial were not to go to multiple patients or combined thereafter. I've included in your hearing book, as I previously mentioned, the relevant portion of the instructions for use of propofol, the anesthesia at issue here from AstraZeneca. And as I set out in bold, propofol, also known as Diprivan, when it is aspirated, it must be drawn aseptically into a sterile syringe. And Diprivan and any syringe containing Diprivan are for single use in an individual patient. My next witness would be Brian Labus, an epidemiologist with the Southern Nevada Health District. He would tell you that on January 2nd, 2008, the Health District found that there was a cluster of acute hepatitis C, which they linked to the endoscopy center. They believed that an investigation was necessary, and they asked the Federal Center for Disease Control for assistance on January 4th of 2008. The Health District and the CDC formed an outbreak investigation team, and on the afternoon of January 9th, members of this team, along with the surveyors from BLC, went to the endoscopy clinic. Their investigation went on for the next 8 days. Findings made by the Southern Nevada Health District and reported in their interim report, which is part of your hearing book, included that detergent labeled for use on one endoscope was observed to be used on the processing of 2 endoscopes. This was contrary to the instructions for use on the bottles. However, they believed that they could rule out that this was the likely source of the outbreak of hepatitis C. They interviewed staff members, employees of the endoscopy center, and several staff members reported that biopsy equipment labeled for use on a single patient had been used for multiple patients after disinfection. One staff member stated that the rule was to reuse single-use equipment of all types 3 times if possible. There was a review of clinic purchase records, which identified irregularities in the purchasing patterns of biopsy forceps, devices attached to endoscopes and used for removing suspect tissue or polyps from patients. They noted that over 7,800 biopsies or polyp removals were performed in 2007, but a total of 6,200 biopsy forceps or polyp removal wires were purchased for the same period. Their interviews of clinic staff also revealed that bite blocks used in certain procedures in patients were being used on multiple patients. That is, a single bite block was being taken out of the mouth of a patient and put into the mouth of another patient in a subsequent procedure. And these are also labeled for single use. One staff member reported that they were only allowed to use 4 bite blocks per day per procedure room, despite the number of procedures performed. Review of purchasing records identified that the clinic purchased 2,000 bite blocks in 2007, but performed 5,800 procedures in the same year requiring use of bite blocks. The health district, once again, was able to, in their opinion, rule out that disposable equipment reuse was the likely source of the outbreak, although the risk from reuse of biopsy equipment for individual patients could not be exactly determined. The outbreak investigation team investigators, as well as the BLC surveyors, observed the reuse of single-use propofol vials for multiple patients on January 11th. Investigators examined the propofol checkout logs and identified that they were, that is, endoscopy clinic staff, were reusing vials on multiple patients. The outbreak investigation team observed procedures, and they observed a CRNA, a certified registered nurse anesthetist, reuse a syringe on a patient during a procedure January 11th. The syringes were reused to redose a patient, but were not used on multiple patients. The outbreak investigation team investigators went on with their interview of staff members at the endoscopy clinic, and multiple staff members reported that they were directed to reuse syringes, although staff were unwilling to elaborate on who told them to reuse the syringes, as interviews were conducted in the clinic, in the view of administrators. A CRNA formerly employed by the clinic reported to the outbreak investigation team that syringes were regularly reused at the facility. An RN reported that he had observed the practice of reusing syringes on multiple occasions and complained to the management about it. The same RN reported that Dr. A, to use the term used in the report, had directed them to reuse the syringes and other equipment. He stated that the standard practice was to reuse single-use items such as biopsy forceps 3 times. Another staff member reported quitting after 1 day of work because of concerns about equipment reuse and being told to document things that did not happen. When this staff member voiced complaints to other staff members about the practice, a certified registered nurse anesthetist told her that it was, begin quotes, how things were done there, close quotes. During initial conversation with clinic management on January 9th, where there was a general discussion of policies and procedures, the statement was made that they had been following the same policies and procedures and conducting medical procedures in exactly the same way since remodeling in 2004. Brian Labus will tell you that he determined that that remodeling occurred and was completed in March of 2004. This led the health district to its conclusion, which I'll read verbatim. Through the combination of observation, interviews, and evaluation of records, it was determined that the reuse of syringes to redose a patient, combined with the reuse of single-use vials for multiple patients, was the most likely source of transmission during the outbreak. The continuation of this practice over the course of a day could have serially contaminated vials. The health district put up on its website, and I caused to be attached as Exhibit 1 to the complaint for disciplinary action, which you approved at the last meeting concerning this matter, an illustration of how this happened. I think we all understand it by now, so I'm not going to talk you through it. The health district wrote that a total of 6 cases of acute hepatitis C have been identified among clinic patients. One of the cases had a procedure on July 25, 2007, and 5 had procedures on September 21, 2007. Patients who had procedures at the Endoscopy Center of Southern Nevada on September 21, 2007 were nearly 28 million times more likely than non-patients to develop acute hepatitis C. That would conclude my presentation, with the exception that I would call Dr. Sands from the health district, and he would testify that the policies and procedures and medical practices followed for nearly 4 years at the clinics, who are your business licensees, fell well below accepted medical practice.
All right, thank you, Mr. Henry. Are there any questions to Mr. Henry? All right, hearing none, I have a motion to make.
I just want to make a quick comment, if I could. I wanted to thank Dr. Sands and other board members and the staff at the health district for their straightforwardness of this incident. I think that was through their prompt action that we was able to take the action that we took as a city. I want to thank you, Mayor, for believing and doing those things that you thought you needed to do for the protection of those residents of the city of Las Vegas. I think it's because of you that you showed your strong leadership that we've been able to be here where we're at today. And without that type of leadership, I don't know where we would have been. I also want to thank Brad Jervik and Mr. DiFiore for their quick response to my requests, and I would just like to see something like this never happen again in the city of Las Vegas or Clark County.
All right, thank you.
Mayor Goodman, is it your intention to make a motion and then have us vote, and then, assuming our vote is consistent with your motion, to then open it up for public comment?
No, we'll take our vote, and that will terminate the meeting, and then there'll be citizens' participation where anybody who wants to be heard may be heard.
Okay, may I ask just a question or two?
Certainly.
Okay. What we're doing here today, Mr. Henry, is we're going to consider the surrender of a business license from two entities. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And these are entities that hold the business license in a corporation capacity, not as an individual person. Is that right?
One entity is a limited liability corporation, and the other is a limited liability partnership, but they're both artificial legal entities.
What I want to know is that, hypothetically, if the principals of either of these two entities were to apply for a like license, whether it be within the city or the county, is there some sort of flagging system where we could flag that principal from one of the entities today, a year or two from now, is applying for a like license? Do we have the ability to see that it's Dr. X or Dr. Y who's applying for a license and flag it so that we'll know they were the principals from these entities?
I suspect that question is better put to Mr. DiFiore. I am not certain of the answer.
With Your Honor's permission?
Mr. DiFiore?
Jim DiFiore, Manager of Business Licensing. Councilman Wilson, to answer your question, yes, these individuals who appear before us today on paper, they will be flagged. We have ways of identifying those individuals in our system, and should they come forward for an application at a later date, it will be pulled aside and it will be reviewed for the type of activity that they intend to apply for, and at the appropriate time, it'll be decided upon either administratively or brought back before the City Council.
Because what we have before us, and let me just make sure, the complaint for discipline is against the entities, though. But what you're telling me is, though, that below that or within that or behind those entities are individuals, and we have those names flagged, so it would pop up in some sort of search, and we'd know that it was the individuals that can't hide behind some other corporate entity.
That is true.
I would like to make another comment after you make your motion. I'd like to hear your motion first.
All right, certainly. All right, at this time, Mr. Brown, you represent the respondents, is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Were my representations accurate?
Yes, they were, Your Honor.
All right. Then I'm going to move to accept the proposed negotiation by allowing the Gastroenterology Center of Nevada and the Endoscopy Center of Southern Nevada, LLC, to surrender their business licenses, which is in the custody of Mr. DiFiore at this time and will remain there, in return for a contemporaneous tender to the City of Las Vegas of a cashier's check in the amount of $500,000. Do you have that?
Sort of intended, Your Honor.
All right.
I have what appear to be two cashier's checks, each one for $250,000, each one emanating from one of the licensees mentioned in the disciplinary complaint.
Very good. Thank you. I'm going to direct counsel for the Department of Finance and Business Services to execute the settlement agreement, and thereafter deeming the complaint for disciplinary action dismissed with prejudice. Going to further direct, as part of the motion, the city manager's office to accomplish the need of having any additional testing on a free basis for those who have been notified by the health district, and also to follow through with Metro's assemblage of the seized medical records so that those folks who have been injured as a result of this activity will be able to have their records for future use, and then report back to us as to the status of these two requests on May the 6th. All right? That's the motion. Did you want to be heard now, or can we vote? All right, let's vote on that, please. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I might, could we call the finance director forward to take possession of the checks?
Certainly.
And may the record reflect that I am executing the settlement agreement.
All right, thank you very much. Are they in order, Mr. Vincent?
They look in order.
Very good, thank you.
And finally, may the record reflect that I'm lodging the original of the release and settlement agreement with the clerk.
All right, thank you very much. And also, have we made a provision for your booklet to be part of the record?
I believe I did, but just to have an abundance of caution, I ask that the record reflect that the hearing book I've referred to has been lodged with the clerk.
Very good, thank you. All right, thank you very much. Did you want to be heard before citizens' participation?
Yes, Your Honor, just that I wanted to applaud the city attorney's office and all staff that worked on this case. I think you did a great job. And the expression I used a couple of days ago when I heard that this might be in the works was a bird in the hand. Unlike past actions of this council, sometimes we fine people or fine entities, and that fine is a piece of paper with an amount on it, and it's still swirling up there in the air. We don't have that today. We have $500,000 in the pockets of the city to then hand over for a very worthy cause, to help some of the victims of this crisis and to further the efforts in that regard. So we got something today to use to help the people that were injured. So I just want to applaud the city and everybody else that worked so hard on this case.
Thank you. All right, folks, this is the time for citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the City Council. No subject may be acted upon by the City Council unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, please come forward, give us your name. We'll put a 3-minute timer on so everybody will have the opportunity to be heard if they'd like to. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem?
I would just like to thank, we had in our audience today Steve Kirk, who is the city councilman from the city of Henderson, who serves as our chairman of the Board of Health. He's done a great job in running this also, and I want to thank Steve for coming over today and being part of our meeting. Thanks, Steve.
Yes, sir.
My name is Roy Ensko, retired pastor. I just wanted to say that I went into actually had blood test in May of 2007, my primary care physician, who recommended that I should go to the endoscopy clinic, which I went June 13th. So actually I'm predating everything because I am positive for hepatitis C. So I believe that you talk about 1 through 6, I always see 6, 6, 6. And I got the proof that in May that I had no hepatitis C, that I was clean. I went into the clinic on June, and then I hear from our governor who basically said that there may be a problem. I was getting ready to do some humanitarian work over in Africa. I heard that I maybe have a problem, so I went in to go get tested. I found out on my birthday that I have hepatitis C. So what I'm trying to say is I have the proof here, and I brought the proof to give to you that this started, at least for me, back in May I was clean, June 13th I got infected.
Very sorry to hear that, sir.
So anyway, I brought all the evidence, at least my reports. If anyone would like to see that, I would like to hand it over. I'm not trying to be private about it. I just want to share that this thing goes back. I know you keep talking about 6.
No, I don't keep on talking about 6, but...
someone keeps talking about 6.
The media talks about 6.
The media talks about 6.
But if you'd like to make...
I want to be counted as at least number 7.
All right, that's fair. If you'd like to make this part of the public record,
Absolutely.
We'd be happy to accept it if you hand that to the
Yes,
clerk.
I would do that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Brenda Botts, and today I would be celebrating my husband's 56th birthday. Unfortunately, he died of hepatitis C, liver cancer. Thanks to these doctors who ran our insurance up, my husband died at home in front of my family. It's a horrible death. I think you all should know it's a horrible death. And these men should be held accountable, not just the entity. These men, they know right from wrong. They give these people a death curse. I don't understand why they're not being indicted. This is a criminal act. I mean, I'm pleased that their license are gone.
That's the only area that we have jurisdiction over as a city.
Well,
There are other agencies and entities that would be able to address it.
is there anything going to be done about that?
I can't tell you what other people are doing. We did the most we could do as a city.
Well, I appreciate what you did do.
And I'm sorry about your husband. Yes, sir.
My name is Joseph Hines. I live at 4148 Annie Oakley Drive. I just want to make it for the record that these doctors, and everybody seems to say that they don't know what's going on. On the 11th, I filed a criminal complaint against the Dr. Desai.
The 11th of what?
Of March, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Of this year? Of this year.
Of this year, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In regards to, when I was in his office, the doctor came in and said, give him a used needle. And I said, oh, everybody wants to be a comedian, huh? Well, it turns out they did. They did use a used needle on me. And I just want to make that on the record that there was an anesthesiologist, 2 nurses, and a doctor in there. How do you get 4 people in cahoots to act like that? What does he have over these 4 people to be able to do that? Thank you.
Thank you for coming down. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I want to thank you, too, for the great job you've done.
Please put your name on the record.
My name is Stephanie Entel Thornton. Professionally, I'm a registered medical assistant. I'm also a victim of the Endoscopy Center on Burnham. In December of 2005 through January 2006, I underwent the same procedure 3 times. I have been tested, and I'm positive being exposed, not being active, with hepatitis C. So I had a 3-to-1 chance of getting the active virus. As per my family physician, once a year I have to be checked. My life and 40,000 plus others are worth more than pennies, worth more than putting your checkbooks out there to spend what you want and do what you want. I'm emotional now because there are people I am positive that don't even know what's really going on as we speak here today. I never received a letter. I watch TV, I read the newspapers.
As I understand, the letters only went out to those patients at the 700 Shadow
Well,
Clinic.
sir, perhaps with all the other locations, you should possibly look into sending something, but they should have gone out registered or certified. You have the elderly that live alone. They might have thought it was junk mail. You have mentally challenged people who have no clue as to what's going on, unfortunately, for them. Again, I want to thank you for taking away that business license. But when these people took an oath to do no harm, they've done a great deal of harm. Evil, the root of evil is money. Take a look around. Too bad that this chamber is not big enough for 40,000 people. Thank you.
Thank you for coming down. Yes, sir.
God bless you, too. Thank you.
Hello, my name is James Morris, and I'm a resident here since 1986. I appeal to you guys for the families and the families of the families that's going to be affected by this. And I thank you for pulling their license, but that's just scraping the barrel. Okay? A lot of us are suffering from post-traumatic stress, as I am. I know that. And I think there's a lot more that could be done within the council here than is said. I think that, you guys could, do a lot more than what you're doing right now other than pulling their license. You ought to be activating their butts to be put in jail. That's all I got to say. If a prostitute can go out and give you AIDS and they go to prison, how come these people can't go to prison? There's no excuse.
Thank you for coming down.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
Tom McGowan, Las Vegas resident and patient of the VA healthcare system. Said that may I have your red, please? Can you get on?
It's not on yet.
Zero in on that. You'll see what resembles the interior of a colon.
Yes, there it is.
And up on the top it says what happens here stays here. And here on that right side of the margin is a graveyard. The RX prescription is murder. The overhead exhibit is self-explanatory. The subject issue is page 1 of a multi-volume work in progress, where culpability and tacit complicity is not limited to the alleged perpetrators. They're alleged according to the system and their professional cohorts, but extends to include all jurisdictional levels of society and government in the state of Nevada, where the love of money exceeds the value of life itself. That's the lesson. The cause of the problem is the absence of integrity, the lack of open public accountability, the refusal to accept individual responsibility, all of which is increasingly evident as endemic and epidemic in the battle-born pioneer state of Nevada, where the consequences of illicit acts and omissions are adversely impacted upon the genuine best public and private interest, as well as intergenerationally. The children are going to get it, and the grandchildren, posterity. You were previously advised, in order to have a better city, county, state, and nation, we should all have to strive to become better people, inclusively and without exception. To do that, we have to attain to a higher idealized standard of quality in terms of ethics, morality, reason, integrity, accountability, responsibility, and above all, conscience, instead of a supreme being. Now, who wants to go first? The written text of my public comment is submitted and requested inclusion in the meeting minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I want to thank you for the actions you took this morning in confiscating their license. Does that preclude them from practicing only in Las Vegas or the entire state of Nevada?
All we have jurisdiction over is their city license. I believe what you heard from Mr. DiFiore, who is our licensing director, that there is a flag that is now up and that would probably be applicable as far as the rest of the state is concerned.
I see. Is there any additional steps you could take? I realize that you're limited to the city of Las Vegas.
As far as the city is concerned, our research indicates that we've gone the full extent of our jurisdiction. There are other agencies and entities in the community that will be able to address the issue. This proceeding today does not stop others from going forward that do have jurisdiction.
Okay.
And your name, please.
John Fretz. I've been a resident of Las Vegas since 1995.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, council members. Michelle Baltz, 3646 Tamal Court. Actually, I'm a resident of Clark County, and I wish that I was before the county commission. I wish that they took this type of authoritative action, and I'd like to really thank you for what you're doing. I have Crohn's disease, and I was a patient of Dr. Sharma's for over 6 years. And the process, well, fortunately, I tested negative for everything. And my empathy to the people that haven't. But for those of you that don't know, the process in order to find another doctor is almost impossible. For one, there's already a shortage of doctors, gastro doctors. And before a doctor will even tell me if they'll take me as a patient, I have to get my records from the gastro clinic that was closed. And I submitted my request with Metro 3 weeks ago. Then I got a phone call from Metro because the way they filed these records were done by the date of the procedure and not by your name. And I don't know when my procedure was done because my primary doctor was Dr. Sharma, who is no longer practicing. So I'm walking around with Crohn's disease and I can't even see a doctor right now.
Well, I would hope that when we have our discussions, we can't take any action, but I would hope, this is just a wish, that when we have our discussions about assisting Metro with getting these records together, that this young lady's records would be at the top of the heap under that circumstance.
And everyone else too, but that would be most appreciated. If they could at least organize them so they can find them.
That's They put out a bid, a request for a company to help them put these records together so that folks such as yourself will be able to have access to them. And I think by virtue of our being able to make a contribution of substantial nature monetarily to accomplish that, you'll probably get your records a little faster than you otherwise would.
Well, thank you. It's very much appreciated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council and attorneys. I'm June Ingram, Charleston Neighborhood Preservation. I have this little thing to read from my group, and then after that I'd like to add a couple of comments of my own. Doctors licensed to practice medicine in the state of Nevada, Deepak Desi, Vishvendra Sharma, Elido Carrero, and Clifford Carroll are business owners who ordered the use of contaminated needles, syringes, vials, and other non-sterile pieces of equipment, making each guilty of attempted murder, and each must be treated accordingly. Number one, their license, including those of nurses, must be revoked. Their passports must be seized, canceled, and no new ones issued. Their bank accounts in all countries must be frozen. Their homes, cars, and other property must be sold to help pay health costs for victims and their devastated families. They must be indicted, tried, and convicted, and if convicted, imprisoned proportionately to each crime which is attempted murder, as well as each crime where former patients later found to be infected with HIV and AIDS and hepatitis B and C. People with insurance may be dropped once the expenses gets too high. Thousands will die early and in pain due to greed and wanton malpractice from these associates. The duty of the community, watchdog community, is derelict too. They should have been watching on this. What I don't understand, that's the end of my writing. What I don't understand is why people in the medical field, nurses, didn't have the brains and guts enough to tell somebody what was going on. They could have saved lives. They should have reported it. They could have done it anonymously if they needed to. But they didn't do it. So many people now, some people will never know that they even have it until they spread it on to other people. They won't know where they got it, and it's going on and on and on. But this is ridiculous. This is totally ridiculous. This should not be happening. So the nurses that are found to have done this, their license should be revoked. And all those doctors, theirs should be revoked. They should never be allowed to work again, anywhere. Because they'll do it someplace else, and this is just terrible. It should never have happened. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard at this time? All right, seeing none, I declare the special city council meeting is adjourned.
Could I just say something,
Certainly.
Mr. Mayor? I just wanted to say that these are extremely egregious actions committed by the two medical centers, and I wish, as I know all the other councilmen feel, that we had more authority to do more. It sickens me that individuals representing a profession in which we trust should so betray their medical oath and also betray the medical profession, which contains many doctors who perform at the highest ethical level. What they've done to them is also a terrible shame. I extend my respect to Councilman Reese and to our mayor and to our legal department who moved so quickly to take action to get this matter before us today. And I only hope that other entities within this whole county who have additional authority will move quickly also. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anything else? All right, then the special city council meeting is adjourned. Thank you.